Hey everyone, so we've got an exciting video today. Today I'm gonna do a little virtual checkup and find out if my stomach acid is too low. So I haven't really been having any issues that I feel the need to check up because of, but you never know. If somebody's gonna give me a checklist, I might as well do it. So let's go ahead and get started with GojiMan's video here. Is your stomach acid, warnings that your stomach acid is too low.
So we all know that your stomach needs to be very acidic with a pH of around 1.5 to 3 in order to activate pepsin among other enzymes to break down protein and to help liquefy the food in your stomach. Now, obviously, if the pH of our stomachs are not low enough and we are unable to digest foods and proteins correctly, then our bodies will struggle to access all of the nutrients locked inside our foods.
Wait, proteins? I thought as vegans we didn't even get any proteins. I'm just kidding.
And this will have wide-ranging implications further down the digestive tract that we will discuss shortly. Now, you may be thinking, as many people do, that surely with all of the acid reflux and indigestion that people are facing today, then isn't this a sign that many of us are suffering from too much acid in the stomach and not too little? Unfortunately not, and worryingly, many people are being prescribed antacids and acid blockers by their doctors without even having their stomach acidity levels tested. And for the people who do undertake testing, it is often quite rare that a person's stomach acid will come back as high. So the question is, do you have low stomach acid? And to establish this, here are the top 10 signs that you are not producing sufficient stomach acid. And these are in no particular order. Number 1 is the most common symptom associated with stomach acid issues, and that is that you experience frequent heartburn or acid reflux.
I'm going to just speed this video up a hair. Heartburn or acid reflux. I only seem to experience that if I eat something like marinara sauce that's been cooked down a lot. I used to get that when I would eat like pizza and stuff. So I guess maybe if I ate like I'm gluten-free now, so maybe if I ate like a vegan and gluten-free pizza, I might experience that. But it's usually with like very cooked down tomato sauce that I would get that, or maybe if I would have like a lot of something like chips. But let's keep
If you are not
here.
secreting sufficient stomach acid, then the pyloric valve, which is the muscle at the end of the stomach that lets food pass from the stomach into the duodenum, doesn't open and shut correctly. And obviously, if this valve doesn't open correctly due to stomach acid problems, then the food sat in the stomach starts to ferment, and this fermentation creates gas in your stomach. Now, this gas obviously needs to be released, and it will be putting more and more pressure on the esophageal sphincter, which is the valve on top of the stomach that prevents contents of the stomach traveling up into the esophagus. So when this sphincter opens, it can allow more and more of the stomach contents, including the stomach acid, into the esophagus, and then the delicate lining of the esophagus can start to become damaged, and then the person can start to experience pain and discomfort in the form of acid reflux. Number 2 is that you have really bad breath. Now, obviously, this could just be a simple oral hygiene problem in that you have a lot of unwanted bacteria or yeast in your mouth, or you have something like gum disease. But equally, if you are not digesting food correctly because of problems with stomach acid, then the contents of the stomach can become regurgitated into the throat and mouth because of the pressure in the stomach, as discussed in points 1.
So this one's a little bit harder to self-diagnose because, it's hard to tell if you have bad breath because, I've seen people do that thing where they put their hand in front of their mouth and go like kind of blow into it or something. But my partner hasn't complained about it. And I don't think I have any dental cavity type issues. I've gotten that all checked out. So I think I'm good on all counts in terms of the breath.
Can then start driving halitosis or bad breath, as it's commonly known. Now, for some people, this regurgitation of food and stomach acid may initially be very low level, and a person may not overly be aware of the problem until further down the line. But often it will be a dentist who detects this problem when a person goes in for an assessment, as the person may experience acid erosion of their teeth, or they may have an inflamed red throat, particularly around the tonsil area. Number 3 is that you often have undigested food in your stool. Like I alluded to earlier, stomach acid is the starting point of digestion, and when this doesn't happen correctly, it affects everything that you eat and not just the protein side of things. The thing that you have to remember is that stomach acid triggers both the release of pancreatic enzyme and also bile. Pancreatic enzymes and bile help to break down protein, fats, and carbs from the foods that you eat. So if you have problems with stomach acid, then the food that you eat won't be liquefied correctly, and when the food hits the small intestines, your pancreatic enzymes and bile are not released correctly, and then you will get more and more undigested foods and protein.
Okay, so I have had pancreatic issues in the past. You might have seen my appearance on Sky's show. I was on Vegan After Dark at one point. I kind of talked about it then, but thankfully, knock on wood, I've been good for a long time, and I don't think that I have undigested food in my stools. I don't often look at them, but I think maybe the occasional piece of corn or something. But I think I'm pretty good on that count too. So I think we're 3 for 3 so far.
hitting the colon, and eventually these undigested foods will end up in your stool. Number 4 is that you are always particularly sleepy after your meals. Now, feeling drowsy or sleepy after your meals can be fully explainable in certain situations. So, for example, the amino acid tryptophan is utilized by the body to produce the neurotransmitter serotonin that helps regulate your sleep patterns. So, obviously, if you scoff down a tryptophan-rich meal and then this boosts your serotonin levels, then you may be on a one-way trip to napland. Now, there are many plant-based foods that are rich in tryptophan. So, it could be things like chia seeds, spinach, tofu, wheat germ, sesame seeds or tahini, soy, watermelon seeds, flax seeds, cashews, and almonds, to name just a few.
Yeah, I think bananas are actually a decent source of tryptophan as well. And I used to eat like over 10 bananas a day. I don't so much anymore, but it's not uncommon that I'll eat like 2 or 3 in a day, maybe. As far as those other foods he listed, I do eat some of those too. I haven't really had major issues with fatigue after meals in the past few weeks, but it is something that I've experienced. It tends to be kind of more in the winter time for some reason. In the summer, I tend to be better with that, but this is something I actually have experienced. So maybe we're 3 in 1 right now.
So if you notice that you are wanting to nap most afternoons after your lunch, then just have a quick look at your meals to see how much tryptophan is on your plate. And if there is a lot, then try rotating your food slightly. Now, if you can't spot this type of pattern and you are constantly tired after eating, then it could be down to blood sugar dysregulation, improper nutrient balance, or improper digestion. Remember, it takes a lot of energy for your body to carry out digestion, and more of your body's energy reserves will be guided towards your digestive tract if you have subpar digestion due to issues with your stomach acids. This is something that I see very frequently as a nutritionist, and often taking hydrochloric acid to support food breakdown is great at stopping these food slumps. But
something that I have taken to help with digestion is a betaine hydrochloride. Kind of as he mentions, it's like a hydrochloride supplement. I've also taken plant enzymes, and I think probiotics are also a good adjunct to this kind of situation. So yeah, I think maybe I'm like good on 3 of those things and kind of not good on one still.
Remember, you don't want to rely on supplements to support digestion. You have to get to the root causes of your issues. Number 5 is that you have problems with iron and B12 absorption, and you routinely develop anemia type issues. Iron and B12 deficiencies are very common when a person is experiencing stomach acid problems. Now, if you're experiencing gas and bloating as well as anemia type problems, then it may be a sign of something like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth.
So as far as the B12 issue goes, what was the other thing? B12 and iron. My hemoglobin levels have been generally sufficient, and my B12 levels have been pretty good overall. I remember one time on the day of a blood draw, I actually took a sublingual B12 supplement, and it was like 1,500 or of the unit specified. I don't recall exactly what unit that was, but I'm usually pretty good on those levels. As far as gas and bloating goes, I think it depends on what I eat. Generally, if I keep it kind of like live and light and mostly fruit based, and keep my complex carbs somewhat in check, I tend to be fine. But if I'm eating like a ton of beans or something, like I'm gonna have a little bit of gas for sure.
That you will want to look into. But if you don't, then iron deficiency is something that all too often is exacerbated by stomach acid problems. For many in this situation, even taking an iron supplement may not resolve the issue, as stomach acid is a cofactor for iron absorption in your digestive tract. This is why it's critical that your stomach acid is where it needs to be. Number 6 is...
On the subject of iron, something else that I've heard is that vitamin C helps a lot with the absorption of iron.
That you are always hungry. Now, are you the type of person that will eat and eat and eat and be incredibly full, and then 1 hour later you are back in the kitchen looking for a snack? Now, there could be many reasons for this, such as problems with the lack of diversity in the bacteria within your microbiome, but also, as we have discussed, it could be problems with low stomach acid.
It can also be a parasite problem if you're just always ravenously hungry.
You're eating foods and your stomach acid is insufficient and you are not properly digesting your calories, proteins, and nutrients correctly, then your body will be running on empty and it will constantly signal for you to eat more to try and extract the nutrition that your body needs. So if this is you, then I would highly recommend looking into this, because I can't tell you how many people that I speak to who, when they resolve their stomach acid problems, their appetite starts to normalize fairly quickly. Number 7 is that you have problems with your skin, nails, and even your hair. Now, often when your hair thins or you get white spots on your nails or your skin is very dry, then it can often be a sign that your body isn't getting the nutrition that it needs, and this may be resultant due to the problems with your stomach acid. If your stomach acid isn't where it needs to be, then often the first signs of problems are with your hair, nails, and skin, when your body is becoming deficient in certain proteins, vitamins, minerals, and also essential fatty acid.
Yeah, I've had some issues with like male pattern baldness type stuff. I think that's mostly like a hormonal thing. I mean, I started losing hair pretty early. I don't know if it's necessarily due to stomach acid. I'm inclined to say not. As far as my skin and nails go, they've been pretty good. My skin heals pretty quickly, generally feels pretty solid, and doesn't break that easily. and my nails grow very fast. My beard grows very fast, so I think I'm good in that department as well. So I'm not sure what number we're on, but I think I kind of have just one strike right now with the fatigue after meals thing.
Number 8 is that you experience a lot of bloating or cramping approximately 1 to 2 hours after eating. So as we have established, your stomach acid liquefies your food, and when this liquefied mixture is passed off into the small intestines, you digest and absorb all of your nutrition. If your stomach acid is not at the correct level, then it will allow more undigested foods to pass from the stomach into the small intestines, and then this can create a lot of unwanted fermentation that will cause gas, bloating, and also cramping. Now, for some, supporting digestion with digestive enzymes and hydrochloric acid for a short period of time may actually fix the problem. But if it doesn't, or your levels of gas and bloating are really impacting on your quality of life, then it may be a sign that you have something like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth.
Yeah, about those enzymes that I mentioned earlier, I've actually experienced a great boost in energy after beginning to take some plant-based digestive enzymes. Now you got to be careful because sometimes digestive enzymes can be marketed in the form of pancreatin, which, as far as I know, is always porcine in origin or comes from pigs. So we definitely want to avoid that.
Like I mentioned earlier, your stomach acid is the first line of defense against certain bacteria and pathogens. So if your stomach acid is not where it needs to be, and these bacteria are migrating into the small intestines and colon, then this can be the trigger point for SIBO, and your levels of gas, bloating, and cramping will steadily get worse over time. Number 9 is that you have gallbladder problems. Now, your gallbladder is a pear-shaped organ on the right side of your abdomen, just under your right rib cage. The gallbladder houses bile, which is produced in the liver, and the bile is produced to help emulsify and break down the fats in your diet. Like I said earlier, your stomach acid triggers the release of pancreatic enzymes and also your bile. If you are not producing sufficient stomach acid and therefore not releasing sufficient bile, then you may start running into problems with your gallbladder, and you may experience symptoms such as pale or sandy coloured stools. And over a prolonged period of time, if you are consistently not producing sufficient bile, then you may start developing gallstones.
Yeah, I've had the issues with the clay colored stools, etc. when I had pancreatitis many years ago, like, over 10 years ago. But at this time, everything's been really good, for the last decade. So I think I'm good on the stomach acid realm in that department too. And I think we're maybe on the last one here.
10 is that you are having issues with food intolerances and also sensitivities. Now, obviously, if you aren't liquefying the food correctly within the stomach with stomach acid, then you will get more and more undigested foods and proteins traveling through your digestive tract in a format that your body doesn't often recognize. And this is also true when these foods hit your bloodstream. A simple way for you to think of food is that when your body breaks the foods down into constituent parts of amino acids, fatty acids, and various carbohydrates, these will often be in a format that your body and immune system will recognize. So when these proteins and other nutrients hit your bloodstream, your body will say, I need this protein down in the knee and this fatty acid up in the brain. When stomach acid is insufficient and food is not broken down correctly, then the proteins and fatty acids, etc., enter the body, often in a scrambled format. Then this can start triggering immune system issues. So you may start running into skin issues, sinus problems, brain fog, or joint problems, for example, when eating certain types of foods. Now, there can obviously be many different reasons for these types of intolerances to happen, but you certainly need to look at your stomach acid to see if this is the triggering offender.
Yeah, I haven't had issues with specific food intolerances besides gluten. That's really the only one that, if I were to say, how I've experienced those things in the list when I've eaten gluten, it's definitely a different score than the current score. I'm not sure if that's related to stomach acid, but it's an interesting thing to consider. I mean, if I remove gluten and I'm fine, then I would think that my stomach acid is fine too, because it has to break everything else that I eat down as well. So I think that might be maybe more of an intestinal intolerance, but I'm not sure.
So that's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to check out this one up here, because I'm sure you'll find it equally interesting. And the only other thing that's left for me to say is to remember to look after your body, because it's the only place you have to live. And I'll see you next time.
That's a beautiful message. Yeah, your body is the only place you have to live, and it's the way to experience your life. It's the vehicle through which we experience our lives. And I'm grateful to GojiMan for making that video. And I think I've got a score of 9 out of 10 basically. So based on all those signs and symptoms that I have or don't have, I think we're pretty good. We've got at least an A, I guess. So stomach acid is all good. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. And if you followed along, feel free to leave your score down below if you feel so inclined. And otherwise, have a great vegan day.